Hello, it's Jill Woodworth here with TSC Talks. I'm sitting in my car right now outside the Mountview Middle School where I'm awaiting the exit of Caroline Lacey, who's in her play practice tonight for Alice in Wonderland, which is coming down to the end, so they're doing those like marathon play practices. And that has nothing to do with tuberous sclerosis complex, but it does in some ways because I'm stressed because I just got an email from my daughter MaryEllen, and she wanted me to track her brother Jack's Hess truck. Jack just got back from his CBAT placement yesterday. He stayed overnight his father's last night, and he's been around the house today. He seems okay. But it makes me anxious that he is asking her to track his Hess truck because I know that stresses her out. So it's kind of a weird dynamic between MaryEllen and Jack. MaryEllen's very triggered by Jack for many reasons. And sometimes Jack doesn't mean to, share his anxiety with her, but somehow it's like it just kind of flows from one to the other. And I hate to see her suffer anymore. Or him, wondering why. I'll probably speak to him sternly when we get home. But right now, my job is to sit here and talk to you guys. And I thought maybe I'd go back in time when my daughter MaryEllen was having seizures. She was about 6 months old. We didn't know they were seizures. We didn't know what was going on. She'd been having these spells to us that looked like her eyes would water and her arms would kind of make a movement. And my ex-husband, my husband at the time then, we had no idea what was going on. So we were in the middle of getting ready to video that and send it to a local neurologist when her situation escalated dramatically, and we ended up in the ER, and there she was, diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis based on my ex-husband's facial manifestations, which he wasn't aware were related to tuberous sclerosis. So that's where our journey started. I still feel like this dark cloud when I think about that day because everything in life changed. And I guess, we had 3 more children, 2 with the tuberous sclerosis, and being naive and thinking I knew what to expect with the next one. Because I'd already had one with tuberous sclerosis, I jumped into it, and I did know what to expect. And the type of seizure that MaryEllen was having, they're called infantile spasms, and they are rather significant, and they happen to a lot of children with tuberous sclerosis complex. And there's a medication that's now FDA approved that was not when MaryEllen was having them. So we had to get this medication from Canada. It's called Sabril or Vigabatrin, and we had to pay for it. And then Sarah had the same exact type of seizure, which I recognized right away, and we had a different neurologist at the time when Sarah had the infantile spasm. So it did make things a little easier. But MaryEllen, I will go back to her and talk mostly about what's going on with her. From birth, she really developed quickly, and then she started having the infantile spasms and everything kind of slowed down. I think it was just the development of her brain hit a point where the tubers and the subependymal nodules and all the manifestations that happen to children's brains or that happen in utero kind of have to hit a point before seizures are triggered. So that's my very non-scientific explanation, but it was a little bit of a shit show once she started having seizures, and then we noticed her kind of having a flat effect and, needing some therapies, so we had early intervention come in, and that was our first dance, so to speak, with early intervention services, which are free to children under 3 in our state that are at risk for developmental delay or any kind of potential disability that they can assist early on in life, the idea being that they'll stem the worst of it or at least get them on the right path, which was true for all the kids. Early intervention was wonderful. I wish I had taken more advantage of it at certain points, but again, hindsight's 2020, and here we are, so we're not going to talk about I woulda, shoulda, coulda. Just going to keep rolling on with MaryEllen. And what else? Yeah, so it took us a while to get those seizures all under control, and then she had an ABA therapist, which I know many people are familiar with now, and she is on the autism spectrum. Took her a long time to learn to speak. She'd have little kind of her own language that this amazing speech ABA therapist, speech therapist helped draw out of her. So we had like a list of all her vocabulary words, and we could kind of, translate. And eventually she learned by being, strict ABA therapy. And MaryEllen, we always knew she was smart. She's had, the Asperger's, or what they now call autism spectrum disorder, has been difficult for her. She also had brain surgery because she has a SEGA, which is a subependymal giant cell astrocytoma, and it was in the foramen of Monroe, where the cerebrospinal fluid flows, putting pressure, growing, and so she had headaches and dizzy spells, and we weren't really sure what that was. We thought it might be a psych issue, as she'd had several of those, but we ended up at Mass General and having pretty much emergency brain surgery, though they did know it was a possibility prior. She came out of that, she came home, she was in the hospital a couple weeks, and I noticed her head swelling up, like a cone head, and the fluid wasn't draining, so she needed a shunt, so we were back in the hospital. Was not the best, month for us, November of 2011. But there were lots of stories along the way with MaryEllen. And as I go and talk more and feel more comfortable talking to y'all, maybe 2-3 people that are listening, maybe 3,000 someday. Hopefully, yes, because I'm awesome and my kids are awesome and our story's awesome. But that's a little glimpse of MaryEllen. I'm thinking maybe I'll talk just a few more minutes and let you guys roll on out of here. So I'm still waiting for Caroline. It's almost 8 and she should be coming out soon. And I'm having a car issue, of course, today. Oh my goodness. It's quite a day. Lots of appointments, getting Jack ready to go back to his school and making sure they feel safe, he feels safe, we feel safe, the world is safe, which is not true, but Jack doesn't feel safe. And well, anyways, I could just go on and on. It's just, negotiations and certain fancy footwork until we can decide whether this school's going to really do what we need it to do to help him. And I'm going to do what I need to do, and we're all going to work together and hope for the best. That's all we can do in this condition. This tuberous sclerosis complex world, and all the people out there who have children affected or who are adults themselves affected know that, you just kind of got to take life as it comes and accept what happens in the day. And those are my deep words. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon.